Hello, we're going to talk tonight about a little bit of royal news that we have. We'll call this the Royal Roundup. And there's a lot to discuss. It's the week of the Royal ASCOT 2023. And we're also going to talk about Sarah, the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, Lady Amelia Windsor. And we'll also discuss the fashion of the Royal Ascot and then King Charles's amazing victory, which was a huge thing. It was very emotional. And then, of course, we are going to talk a little bit about Harry and Meghan, which is constantly sort of a fluid situation. We usually have a lot to say about them. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I am Deanna from Hot for History. I'm really excited to have you guys here. Please do subscribe, share with your friends. We like to go live every now and then where we sort of discuss royal news. I like to post and show your comments. We have a very eclectic group here, people who are very supportive of the royal family and other people that are not so supportive of the royal family, but we like to discuss it all and hear what you guys have to say. So tonight we are here from Florida, from Illinois, from all over. We have people from all over the place. Good evening, guys. And so we're going to just get right to it. Right before we get to, King Charles's victory, which I thought was so sweet, there is some additional royal news. Mainly right now, we're talking about Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, and her news. She's still living with Prince Andrew, in case those of you don't know. Hello from Pennsylvania, Saskatchewan, California. We're from all over the world. Such great news. So Sarah Ferguson and Andrew have been like this even after their divorce. They're just basically partners. Like, I don't know, the details or whatever, but they've been living together for years. She just raves about him, but many of us have appreciated her candor. She's always been very honest. She's out there writing books, children's books, and that type of thing. But she did just have a cancer scare. She went in for just kind of like an annual exam, mammogram, and they found something. And then now she's had surgery, and they say that the prognosis is good. They didn't really put a lot of details in it, but obviously she's now raving and telling everybody to make sure they get mammograms. Last year, she was talking about her mental health issues and how mental health is really important. She has come out online saying, she's not going to judge Harry and Meghan. Everybody's got to do what they've got to do. So she just kind of seems to be able to balance this. Good evening from Tampa Bay and Hudson Valley, New York, and Brooklyn. I can't wait to get back to Brooklyn at some point. I lived in New York City for a long time, but in Manhattan, and then I was in Queens too at one point. Texas, welcome from Texas, from Tampa Bay. Okay, so we're going to kind of get into a couple of other things. And so feel free to just, make a comment or even bring up a topic, because that's what we're here for. So do you guys know who Lady Amelia Windsor is? She is one of the Duke of Kent's granddaughters. And I recently did a video about why Meghan would not be a good choice for Dior. And what I had said in that was, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it, was that Meghan she wasn't really the kind of high fashion type, number one. Number two, the history of the royal family with Dior, obviously I'm not getting into the whole thing here, goes way back to Margaret, Princess Margaret. The then Queen Mother, the then Queen Elizabeth, brought Princess Elizabeth, who would be the future Queen, and Margaret to Dior, to a private fashion show right after his first public fashion show. And she brought a couple of other royals, and they decided to choose an amazing Dior gown for Margaret's 21st birthday. From that point, they had fashion shows at Blenheim. It catapulted his career. And my opinion, obviously this isn't necessarily what everybody's saying, but my opinion was for Dior as a brand to align themselves with Meghan when Meghan and Harry as ambassadors when they have been disrespectful to the royal family, when the royal family is still wearing them, because Camilla was just wearing them, would be kind of a slap in the face. So I made the suggestion that somebody who might be more appropriate is somebody like Lady Amelia Windsor, who is part of the royal family. She's like the third cousin of William and Harry. Her grandfather's I don't know, like the cousin of Queen Elizabeth, something like that. And she's very much in the know in the fashion houses. She's always out there attending things. She looks fabulous. She represents all of these different brands. I personally felt like she would be a better, I don't know, she seems more aligned and she's pretty consistently respectful of her family. So that's what I thought. That's what my opinion was. So I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. We will get to the news. Okay. I had no idea of the history Dior had with the royal family. Thanks for touching on it. Yes, because, and then from there, like Dior, he was, kind of a young guy. And then, so he just basically, the royal family kept turning to him. And then it opened up his career. And not to say that he wasn't talented, is talented. But it totally catapulted them. So I can imagine a situation where it's like, wait, we've got to think a little bit about our history, unless they're not thinking about the history and they just didn't care. Obviously, we know that a lot of that was rumors when they were saying, hey, Meghan's going to be the next, Dior face. We think that that was a diversionary tactic after they lost their Spotify deal, right? So that's possible, my opinion. Those of you who are in the UK, Brian Whittington, you can pipe in and let me know your thoughts about that. Let me see what I'm just going to start calling you Bunny, because I always want to go Bunny. Okay, you're right. Dior said Meghan is not going to be one of their celebrity ambassadors. In my honest opinion, Meghan is too controversial. Yeah, I think she's too controversial, and just even from their own history, I think there's plenty of brands who would still probably partner with them. But it definitely was like one of those like head turning things, like, wait. And I feel like Harry and Meghan's press is like that. Like they come out with one thing that's negative, that was out of their control. And then they try to control things by going, yeah, but look, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. So I feel like there's that a lot. By the way, the big thing now, what they're saying now, of course, is like, oh, they might be changing their names from Windsor to Spencer. I don't think that would work. But anyhow, I agree. She's a royal and British. Meg is from California, American. Yeah. So I just felt like if Meghan had stayed in her position, I can see all kinds of stuff like that happening. But then again, financially, that wouldn't, it wouldn't have gone in her pocket. It would have just been, hey, she's wearing those styles and that, so they're probably going to have to look for like a different deal. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So let me forward this on. Let's talk about the Royal Ascot a little bit. Well, first, let me talk about this. Okay. So, here's the thing there, this woman who's like, kind of a royal biographer. She did Harry's biography in 2018. She says, because now they're talking about changing their name to Spencer, which I can't imagine. Like, why? What's the point? Like, don't do that. It doesn't make any sense to me. But that Diana, this is what she's saying. Again, this is not me talking. This is me reporting the news. And we are gossiping, yes, and we are putting it all together. But she is saying, this is Angela Levin, she is saying that Meghan probably wouldn't have the time of day for Diana either. Kind of like she is with her, because Diana would have had a lot of influence on Harry. But then a lot of people say if Diana was around, he wouldn't have picked Meghan in the first place. But this woman, Angela Levin, is saying that Meghan would not have even shown respect in real life had Diana lived, because she's so disrespectful and she doesn't really, show the respect. So they're talking about ditching there's a rumor out about them ditching their Windsor surname. I personally think this is so far-fetched. What do you guys think about that? And adopting the late princess's surname Spencer in a bid for a rebrand. What? Like this, so many of the things with the British news, like to me, like I'm like, no, I don't think so. But Levin says that when something's on the front page about them, they come up with something else. And that is true. I just said that. It's a diversionary tactic. Thank you so much, Daniel, for your support. I really appreciate it. So appreciate it. I'm so glad that you're here. Okay. So, so that they can, divert the discussion, I think it's nonsense. So we are acknowledging that basically there's one thing and then they go, look over there, so there was the Dior thing, but now, okay, she's not in Dior. So let me change the name. It's always like something. Princess Diana, who's the mother of Markle's husband, Prince Harry, we know that she passed away. Levin pointed out that Markle had never met the late princess, but revealed that she has visited her grave, referencing the moment that was described in Harry's book, Spare, where he said she's never seen Diana. She's never known her. She did lie flat and pray to her once. First off, it's like, I think about my ancestors a lot, but I don't know if I pray to my ancestors, but I'm just putting that aside. I'll like, pray out to God and talk about my ancestors or something. But anyhow, she did lie flat and pray to her once when she went to visit her grave, but that's about it. The royal biographer even claimed that the late royal would not like her because she supported the monarchy. Okay, we're going to talk about this for a second. So Levin is saying, Diana, even with all of her controversy with the royal family, that Diana was very keen on, like, she stayed in Sandringham, so she was nearby, and she was very keen on having her sons respect their role in life as royals. So Angela Levin saying that Meghan would not like Diana because Diana would have been, Harry, what are you doing? This is your job. She would have been like, pulling him back in, pulling the reins in. What do you guys think? And then we're going to talk about the Royal Ascot. So Angela's wrong. Okay, so yeah, I mean, because you mean regarding the Windsor name, or the fact that she wouldn't have gotten along with Diana? I mean, we don't know. Everybody's speculating, so it's possible she's wrong. Absolutely. Meghan's very jealous. Dior himself made gorgeous dresses. That dress he made for Margaret, I'm telling you, it was the most gorgeous thing, and it's just so iconic. And then he said to her, like, the whole fashion thing was so interesting. He's like, hey, are you a gold person or a platinum person? She's like, I'm gold. And so he put all this gold embroidery on it, and it's a two-piece. And then Margaret just looked so stunning. Like, that woman was so beautiful. So anyhow, then it was during the time where all of those beautiful tulle dresses came out, and they were wearing just these gorgeous drop dead dresses. And so he really brought that elegant glam into not only the royal family, but during that time. So anyhow, but yes, I agree with you. That dress was like, jaw dropping. Seems like Harry and Meghan just trying way too hard, especially Meghan seems a little too much like a pick me thing. Yeah, I mean, if we assume that they were responsible for that news, if they're not and they're just sitting there, then their press is kind of making it look like that. You know what I mean? Meghan's an actress, and she is still playing the part with her own actor dialogue. She checked out Harry. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we're watching this evolve. That's why we discuss it. Changing the name to Spencer is wicked. It's disrespecting Diana's marriage to Prince Charles. I'm sure they have to ask the Earl of Spencer permission before doing that. Yeah, and they're on very good terms with him, but I think all of us would be like, what's the point? Like, how often are we using your last names anyhow? Like, is that really going to change your whole branding? No. Diana was a royalist. While she had her problems, yes, with the monarchy, Diana's smart and knew her bread and butter, was where that was coming from. She did. You're right. Meghan seems to view everyone as competition. Kind of sad. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I go through this thing where I'm like, wait, what is real and what's not? We don't really know these people. So we're just commenting on the news. And I think that that's a really good disclaimer. So there's always that part of me that needs to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, because we don't know what they're experiencing. We don't know how awful it was. But what we see it's hard. Like, we want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's hard. I have a feeling if Diana was still here, she might have seen through Megan's "I don't want this life out." Yeah, I think she would have too. I think she would have too. Dior made them look like princesses. Guys, if you get a chance, just look up like Google Images, Blenheim fashion shows. Like, there were 16 people at the 1,600 people at these Blenheim fashion shows that they had. And like the dresses, and he had this model who was like, I think she was part Chinese, like she was statuesque, and just I wish I had her name. So gorgeous. And she was like in all of these things, and just the dresses. I wish we can go back to the 50s. I was talking to somebody in my house, like, it's like, remember when we used to have the holidays here? Because I'm in my great grandparents' home, which means my grandmother's sisters and brothers, were raised here. But when I was really little, they would always be dressed up. It was Easter or Christmas, and they were always looking fine. Like, we just don't do that as much anymore. Okay, Brian, Harry has got some weird obsession about his mother going. That is one thing we do kind of need to discuss. He really does see Meghan as Diana. And they're very, very different, but in him expressing that, I think he's showing, the hole in his heart for missing her. I mean, I don't know. I just cannot imagine what Harry has gone through in that loss, but yeah, I tend to agree with you. Okay. So yes, Dior, we love them. Okay, let's talk about the best look since we're talking about fashion. Guys, I don't have all the pictures up here. Like, I wanted to have more of Beatrice's pictures up here, but let me kind of add this. Okay, so Kate wore red this time. I think it's an Alexander McQueen dress, and then the Fascinator, I don't know, is something else. Tell me your thoughts, because she's always had kind of more like muted color, not muted, but like very elegant, like white with, she had a polka dot dress one year. I mean, just, she always looks so good. And the red I thought was great. I thought it was great. But I am, okay, huge fan of the House of Dior. Okay, now you guys have me wanting to go into a deeper dive on him, and how that all came to be, because his own personal history. Sorry, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but this is honestly very par for the course with these lives that we have. You got to catch up. Okay, so Dior, since we're talking about the House of Dior, Daniel, and what is it, Allah? Okay. Anyhow, Dior, his sister was put into a concentration camp, because I don't know, I can't remember if she was with the French or Italian resistance, something like that. And so when she came out, he basically created a whole perfume line for her, because she just basically made it out to freedom by the skin of her teeth. Like, it was awful. So he's got quite the history. And so then he comes out, and then his career just skyrockets after that. And a lot of those designers, quite frankly, the European designers, were thrust into this conflict between having to design for, quite frankly, the Nazis or people who were Nazi sympathizers. It was like a whole crazy thing. So anyhow, I could go into a deep dive with that, and yeah. But I'm going to grab your questions in a second, but I want to show you some of the, like, look at the looks. Like, Sophie looked so great. And then, I mean, they all looked amazing. Beatrice, I wish I would have had her pictures, because Beatrice looked amazing. I like this middle pink thing with the queen. The other ones were like, okay, but the pink one I thought was super cute. And then of course we have Zara, who looked great. And then there were a couple different days. And then okay, so then this is the money shot, which we'll talk about in a second, but I'm going to take some of your comments. Let's go back to the comments that I missed. Okay, let me pull those up, and we will talk about that right now. Okay, so let me see. Harry proves that even with wealth, good therapy is hard to find. I mean, mental health, like I could go on and on about that. That's a very true statement. It's really hard. It's really hard. I feel for Harry, but he's not the only dude who lost a parent. It is true. It is true. And William did too. It's just how people process things. Harry is still too childish and has Meghan be his mom type. I feel like you're right, Evelyn. I feel like it's sort of like, hey, she's, it's sort of like he wants that to be replaced. And it's not, because she's not that. And I think he needs to understand that. Like, he may have been projecting so much of his expectations with the whole Diana dialogue and the Diana narrative onto Meghan. And he's going to need to stop and go, it's not that. She's not that. She's her own person, and that's it. Okay, Allah, thank you. Daniel. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to somebody else here. Okay, I'm going to have to research her, because talk about a 1 in a million gorgeous specimen of the universe. Like, she was so beautiful. Okay, I think Harry might have slight Oedipus complex. Oh my gosh. Probably didn't deal well with Diana's death. Absolutely. I got the feeling there were other issues before that. Well, I mean, I'll just speak from personal experience, having, been a child of divorce, which probably many of us are. My parents divorced when I was like 8 or 9. That alone can be really hard, really hard. So he's processing that. Then he's like off into school. Then his dad is having an affair while their divorce is going on. He's, second in line, third in line at the time. Yeah, that's a lot. It is a lot. So, and then the fact that I feel like the royal family did, I feel, and I'm not going to say clueless, but I feel like they were unprepared and uninformed at how to deal with this. How do you deal with a divorce with kids that are in the limelight? Now, how do you deal with kids that have already grieved the loss of their mom and father as an intact unit with the loss of your mother? I mean, there's a lot of heaviness that Harry did deal with. And yes, William did too, but people do process things differently. And unless you have the right therapist that tells you, like, you need somebody that says you can process this, but you also have to put on your big boy panties and like move on. I don't think he's gotten to the big boy panties part. That's my opinion. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. Honestly, Harry and Meghan's publicist should be shot. For some reason, they think that all this stupid drama is a good thing. Yeah, no news is bad news, but I'm sick. And that is what's happening. Like, so many people, we're like tired. We're so tired of, okay, what's next? Oh, now they're changing their name. Oh, now they're doing, like, they need to chill out. And you're right. Which one of you, I don't know if it was Liz or somebody, who said, it's like she's going, oh, look at me. And it's the kind of thing where you have to back off for a while and let people forget you, and let the press just die down, not get into it, and feel comfortable not being spoken about at all. And then when you get your what together after losing a Spotify deal, and you figure out what your next step really is, like, let it all die down, clean the slate, and then come back with something that works after having better advice, a better publicist, a better, like somebody who's like wiser at advising you. So I totally agree with you. So I agree about Kate's ASCOT. The red is classic. Yeah. So I think it was one of those things where you either love it or you hate it, because I think it was bold. It was really, really bold, but she's getting bolder. She's wearing, colored nail polish. She's changing her shoes, into different shoes. Did you see, by the way, I didn't put this in here, that she was she was at Wimbledon. She's very athletic. She was with, was it Federer, guys? Anyhow, she was doing a whole thing about Wimbledon, and she was playing. Meghan would have been jealous of Diana, but had Diana lived, Harry would have been on I agree, a completely different trajectory. Meghan Markle would still basically have been a narcissist. Yeah. I agree. Okay, so Harry's a puppet. I agree. Okay, I wonder if changing to Spencer is her idea. her ideas, she should go at the bottom of the list. Her idea to get to wear the Spencer tiara. Well, her daughter will get the right to wear the Spencer tiara. Earl Charles Spencer has said it will only be worn by Spencer females. She still doesn't get what birthright means. Right. While she would still see herself as a Spencer, they just don't need to change the name. The constant need to walk hand in hand strikes me as being infantile and mothering. Yeah. Does Prince Harry need the constant reinforcement from Meghan? Yeah, I don't know if they're still walking hand in hand, but yeah, that was something that kind of got on my mind. Okay, Sarah and Andrew should get remarried. I think we all would be like, that might be a little bit of good news, Why not, Meghan is and always has been status hungry. Yeah, I know. Okay, so who is changing the name? Just Meghan? I think they're saying, Deborah, that they were, again, this is a rumor. And it's a news story that came out after the Dior thing was debunked. So I think those of us who kind of watch them need to start to be aware of how one thing fades, the other thing comes up. They're like playing this little sleight of hand kind of a thing. So they can't just let the thing fade and have air, like have a breather and have somebody else like, let's talk about the king and like, all that. No, it has to be like, we've got to say something. Perhaps they thought they would be treated more like royals. Harry was raised as a prince with a title, but fast forward for today, William, Kate, and their kids are more recognized. Yeah. Daniel, in my opinion, I just feel Meghan and Harry come from completely different levels, games of fame. Meghan has our California, no publicity is bad publicity. Yeah. So I've said this like before, something similar, and it's such a good point. The conflict here, in my opinion, is she comes from, she had to hustle. She had to work really hard to get whatever fame she already had. And then she worked and pulled strings to meet Harry. Like she did all of this stuff. As Americans, we are taught you work hard, you can get paid for it, get your deals, whatever. And then especially if you've been in entertainment and now you're thrown into the royal family and you're putting on a designer dress and like you guys actually have to pay for it out of your budget and you're not getting even commissions or royalties or anything off of it. It's a bizarre concept because you're used to having everything be valuable. So there was a time when Meghan was out working because she worked really hard when she first came into the royal family. And she's like, I can't believe I'm not even getting paid for this. And I know that sounds so blunt and rude, but it's the way many of us would think that have been in entertainment. It's like, wait a second, you want me to spend my entire day, I'm pregnant, like going around from here to here and here. And like we have to like basically beg you for more money in our budget, and I'm living in a cottage. So there is like this clash of concepts. Like Americans in entertainment are very different than Brits that are just royal. And she never could settle into that. So instead, she pulls Harry into the entertainment track. You guys following me? You picking up what I'm putting down? I think it's very true. In other words, she and Harry, it's entertainment. Now, he's been having to adjust to being an American in this sort of like, let's figure out how to capitalize on our image thing. And it's not really going as great as they thought. Plus, he's not really that successful or familiar with how to manage those deals. Otherwise, they would have had enough Spotify podcasts. Just saying. So I agree with you. Did you talk about, Stephen, welcome. I forgot. Okay. So I didn't talk about that. My sister was here all weekend and I didn't get to, there was so much. Okay. So Stephen is referencing, I feel like I need to just go full face on this one. Okay. So what Stephen's saying is that apparently there was this Montecito report in a local newspaper that they got in a big fight. He was drinking and he passed out and then had to go to the hospital. And then the report was taken off. What else do you guys know about that? Please, because now I want to know. And I haven't even gotten to what we're talking about, which really warmed my heart when I saw it. Okay. So Stephen, if you know anything else, please comment on that, or any of you guys. Okay. So only reason I would say Meghan's over her if they did offer her Dior, because that's William's brother's wife, the future king of England, and the son of the king. She is down the line. Only reason I would say Meghan over her. Oh, you mean over Amelia Windsor? Yeah, because Amelia Windsor is like 43 and Harry's still up there. Listen, there's many instances where the next royal was like 5th or 6th in line. There are situations like that. I don't think it'll happen in this case, but there are situations like that. So yeah, I mean, Amelia Windsor is not that famous, but they do have some other royals from other parts, but so Meghan, I mean, I'm just thinking from the entertainment standpoint, like, and like their image to me is just more commercial than high fashion too. Although nobody's going to deny the fact that Meghan Markle is beautiful. Like they can put something on her and she'll photograph well and she'll look beautiful. But I just don't think that she's that type. Like she's the Christian Dior brand type, but who knows? We don't know what they're going for now. And maybe the deal is still on the table, even though everybody's like, no, it's not. It's gone. Okay. Let me see. So true. The only way Meghan knows influence. Okay. I'm going to go down to what Stephen's saying because I'm curious. Okay. We're getting back to Harry fainting, passing out, or being drunk, or having had something that made him go, or maybe he just was overheated. I don't know. But there were photos. Waiter talked about the many beers Harry drank and witnesses to their fighting at the club. Ooh. Was it at Soho Club or was it at some kind of like Montecito, Santa Barbara club? This is something, when I heard about this, about Harry possibly passing out, that kind of was really sad to me because Meghan, I think, is a professional grifter, and she will, this is my opinion, she will find somebody else and something else. Harry may, but Harry's very sensitive and very emotional. And when you think about it, he's the one who has risked so much. Yes, you can say that Meghan sacrificed so much. Not like he has. He's put his entire family on the line in order to raise his new family and followed her ad infinitum to what she's doing, right? My problem with him is I feel like he needs to grow a pair. That's my thing. But I feel like because he hasn't grown a pair, he would be so devastated. And that's probably why he's drinking so much. But he's had problems with that before. And guys, I also called this because I feel like even if he doesn't drink, even if he doesn't do drugs, he has an addictive personality. That's why he's over obsessed either with Meghan or the media. So addictive personalities, it means that you can say that you've gone to, AA, you've gone through the treatment, you know your steps, you're not drinking, you're not doing that, but then you shift your addiction onto something else. And that's what he does. And so my concern is that if Meghan's like goodbye, it puts him in the worst situation ever. And that's the struggle. That's the struggle. Okay. So Sarah and Andrew have continued to live together, even though the divorce, right? Yes. Why? I find this odd. I do too. Anyone else? I do totally 1,000% find it odd. Now Sarah has breast cancer surgery. The ex and daughters are taking care of her. Yes. They're very much a family unit. And the one thing I'll say with the weirdness, the entire weirdness of Andrew, and she did some, I'm not going to call them comical, but very interesting things. She was one of the first ones to be in the paper because of some of her feet issues. Anyhow, I'm not going to go into it too much, but the one thing I'll say is that they were successful raising some amazing daughters and grandchildren, and their family unit honestly does look pretty tight. Like they look pretty tight. I'm just saying. Yeah. Okay. So Brian, it's been reported they wanted to have joint use of the Prince, Princess of Wales titles. Why are the Wales? Okay, wait. They thought they could take the monarchy in a more, I know what you're saying now, more modern direction than William. Okay. I'm going to translate what Brian's saying here because I'm picking up what you're putting down. Okay, so there was a report out that Meghan and Harry had this genius idea. They wanted, and Meghan especially was like, why do you guys need to just be the next monarchs? How about we have double monarchs? We'll all be able to get the trophy and be the queen and king. Yay! It'll be so much better and so much more modern. So that's what Brian's saying, that at one point they discussed, let's all 4 of us do that. Let's all become the next monarchs. There has been that in the history before, but so that's what they're saying. Yeah. Okay. So it's I'm a huge Diana fan. Me too, and have a few Lady Dior's because of her. Oh, I want the purses. And I personally would love to see someone from her family in and holding a Lady Dior. I know, I would buy the bag. I would buy the bag Meghan was carrying in. Okay. Yeah. And also to get a little bit into the drama, the reason why she kind of went a little bit more into Dior was because she was done with Chanel. Is that true, Daniel? You might know better than me. She decided that C&C, Chanel, no, because Camilla and Charles. So she went over to Dior and they gave her a bag. It was supposed to be just like this little promo thing. And she carried the Dior and then everybody went crazy. They're like, oh my gosh, we all have to have the bag. And then it was famous, very famous. Okay, Steven is giving us an update. I know, guys, for those of you who are new, I hope you're enjoying. This is kind of like an ADD royal thing, but that's why I kind of call it a roundup. We're going to get to the King Charles thing in a second. Montecito Club, Google the newspaper. Clearly, if they are doing this in public, they have issues. Whew. Well, what we haven't known is whether or not they're even living together. And I don't know. For me, even with the kind of money that they have, I don't know if I would live that type of, I would maybe get a $7 million or an $8 million house and be a little bit more, I don't know, discreet, maybe not in the middle of Montecito. That's what my opinion would be. And I would be, I don't know, making sure that if somebody's offering me $25 million, then I overproduce so they can offer me more 25 million, or I can get parts of that 25 million ASAP so I can invest it. So if you think about it, I'm not sure that Harry has had much experience managing a multi-million-dollar organization. He's had a budget and an office. For how long? Not very long. It's a whole other thing to run an American multi-million-dollar company and a nonprofit where, by the way, they said, hey, where did that $30 million go or whatever? So I don't know. They definitely do have issues. What are they going to do? This has to be overwhelming. If it were me, I would say, Daddy, I would be calling him. I would say, help me. It would be a good time to reconcile because, quite frankly, he's going to need, if they split up, they got to come up with something genius, and they're probably going to have to pay Meghan off so that Harry can have access to his kids. Yes, Fergie had surgery for breast cancer. She's doing okay. Yeah, that's what they said. Thank goodness. I like Fergie. Yes, she's quirky. She's sort of like the eccentric aunt, but I've always liked her. I'm wrong about Meghan and Harry about making money compared to royals. How did the Queen make billions? Okay, so here's the thing. The Queen has billions off of land, off of all that. But the Queen, it's not like this. It's not like, okay, in America, you're signing an endorsement. I'm calling it an endorsement deal. Here, wear Dior, and we're going to pay you your flat rate. Obviously you're making more than scale. You're making a deal. And every time you wear the dresses, we're going to give you some money. So they don't do that with fashion houses. The royal family does not do that with royal fashion houses. Does she have billions? Yes, she has billions, but she's the queen and the monarch. When you're Prince Harry and Meghan, and even the Waleses, although the Waleses now have more money because they got the whole, what is it? The whole Cambridge thing. Wait, no. Okay, I'm missing the other title that they have. You guys can help me. But It's real estate. That's what they've got. And they're the monarchs. So the people down the line, Raymond, they have budgets in their houses. In other words, the Wales have budget, the Sussexes have a budget. And so your housing budget, you have your, you have to pay the people who are your assistants. They have rules. You can't just say, okay, every time I wear Alexander McQueen, that's another 10 grand. And by the way, take your dress back. No, they're buying the dresses. So it's very different from the American way that we do, where we buy, like we get deals. I get deals and they're not like that, but like they get deals. And so it's a different type of thing. And yes, the queen has billions, and yes, the royal family, the monarchy has billions, but that doesn't mean that Harry had his inheritance from his mom and from the queen mother, who, by the way, gave him more than they gave to William because they knew he wasn't going to inherit everything that he got. So I don't know. I think you're probably just misunderstanding me, but it's definitely not, they can't do what the queen did. What they don't have, that they're not the ones who can say, oh, well, let's just pull another $12 million off of your inheritance to pay off Prince Andrew's lawsuit. It's not like that. They don't have the same type of thing. And now they don't even have their budget as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They're not living with that budget. They have their own money. They had to start from scratch. He had to take his money, his inheritance, in order to even get there. And it may seem like a lot of money, whether it was 20, 30, 40 million, but they bought a $14 million house, and then they got these deals, and yet the deals are falling through. So, and there may be other lawsuits because he's paying a lot of attorneys. Okay, so Prince Andrew and Sarah never wanted a divorce. The Queen and Prince Philip forced the, yeah, I believe that. Okay, Harry. Okay, so Catherine, Princess of Wales, has been wearing super sexy heels, and she has been definitely kind of being like, I'm going to wear this now. Okay, so Raymond, I doubt it was billions. Truthfully, the British royals aren't the wealthiest. Okay, so that's the other thing. I mean, these are all good things to discuss. Like, is the billions that they say they have even theirs? Or is it just that the property they own worth that, but it belongs to the crown, not to the individuals? So I think what's hard is to determine what belongs to the crown, what belongs to the people. Okay, so before I get to the next page, which I've been waiting for, I'm going to take a couple. No Spencer women would have to be born with the Spencer name. That means Earl Charles' descendants and his other siblings were Diana, Sarah, and Jane. They all married and no longer Spencer. Yeah. So Meghan could technically, wear a Spencer tiara unless he's going with strictly the bloodline. I'm sure Lily and Charlotte can wear the Spencer tiaras. I'm fascinated, by the way. We've never gone into such a big deep dive regarding the Spencer line and the Spencer family. Her brother fascinates me. He has the most amazing family, beautiful. He's a little creative, kind of out of the box. He's strong, opinionated, and yet still an aristocrat. I love him. I think it's fascinating. Okay, so Reddit users are mad that I found out that Prince Harry still has a chance to wear the crown, probably, if Prince William and King Charles dies before Prince George becomes 18 years old. I don't know if I agree with that. Explain, because you probably know something I don't know. I think if that would happen and he wasn't 18, they would still need to have, it's not the dowager. There's one that's a regent and one that's a regnant, like regent. Whoever's standing in the gap could be the regent, but then they're kind of moved aside when he's 18. Because I know with Queen Victoria, her mom and her mom's husband were hoping that she would become queen before she was 18 so they could have some kind of authority. So in other words, they have somebody standing in the gap for them. I personally don't think it would be Harry by a long shot. But, you never know. Okay, she had them remove all of her Chanel buttons from her suits. Daniel and I are both into this together. After that, you see her fashion shift. Yes, Lady Dior was first named the Chow Chow bag and renamed after Diana fell in love. Yeah, he also, I think, used Lady Dior for the perfume for his sister, didn't he? Like there, so I think there's two, like there's a perfume called Lady Dior. They're blaming Prince Harry's outburst on PTSD. He has been hospitalized on and off since 2020. I mean, here's the thing with narcissists. Let's say they're right about Meghan. But I think Harry has his own narcissistic bent too, right? So we're just throwing this out here. They separate people from their support system. So he doesn't have his brother. He doesn't have his dad. Quite frankly, if you have somebody in your life that loves you so much that they'll slap you across the face, that's what you want in your life. That's my opinion. I want somebody who's going to go, you're full of it. I don't want them to hit me. Don't want them to hit me. But my point is, and I don't want them to hit him, but I'm saying if they love him enough to be that blunt, like get your act together and now we're having a skirmish and dang, we just fell on the floor by the dog dish. Like if you have people that love you that much and are supportive, and again, loving is not hitting. I'm not saying to hit them. I didn't mean that literally. I mean to hold you to, I don't want to say to hold your feet to the fire. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? People who are that direct. He is not with his people, and then I think if she has people who are like, dude, you are out of your freaking mind, they're done. They're persona non grata. We need to be humble enough. They should be humble enough to make sure they've got support system that somebody go, excuse me, this is going wrong. Instead, it sounds like their publicists are doing whatever they want. They say they had great security people who basically backed off and did whatever they said, even though they knew better. So it doesn't sound like he has his support. So if he has the PTSD and it's been ongoing, or let's say he's bipolar, or let's say he's addicted, he has an addictive personality, which I think, and he's dealing with his grief and he's in another country. Like there's so much, I can't even imagine what he's going through or she's going through. But at the same time, you don't have your support. You got to look and you got to see, is that person trying to take me away from my support just by something that they're saying? Are they pressing my buttons to make me agree with them? Like that's what I think is happening. He doesn't have a support system. So it's going to require him to humble himself enough and go, I was wrong. But I don't see him. He seems entitled and he seems to always, it's the media that broke him and Chelsea up. It wasn't the fact that Chelsea maybe was looking for somebody more intelligent. Sorry. Like, it's always somebody else. So I don't see him the type that will go, I need help. It'll be more like, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. He'll say that about his dad, Let me move on to this graphic that I have because I thought this was so cute. Okay. So the king had a horse. You guys, sometimes you know so much more about this than I do. So just fill me in. He has this horse called Desert Hero. This is the first royal ascot since the Queen, right? So the exciting thing, he was an 18-1 odds and he won the race. And so the king, now I should go back to that because the other graphic, I like to see the close up of his face. So I'm sorry, there's a line in front of his face because that was the shot. He was like looking over plexiglass. They were so emotional. And there's something about this for me. Again, I don't doubt that the king is like, there's like a lot of dysfunction in this family. But in the past year or two with Harry, it seems like that's his deepest desire is just to get his kids back, have his grandchildren there. He is grieving the loss of his mother, who he was tight with. His brother has gone, whatever. He's trying to reestablish like all of this stuff. And now he gets a win at his first royal ascot. And they went ballistic. Like they were so excited about it. And he's literally feeling genuine emotion there. Maybe he wasn't the most, I don't know, affectionate according to Harry, but, I think he probably did what a lot of dads do, So anyhow, I just thought that was really sweet that their horse won. Okay, so let me go through these comments. Okay, yes, but only until George was 18, then he'd have to give it back. That is true. But I don't think it would be Harry. At that point, they get to choose. It's not just like, okay, the next one in line. It could be It could be the queen. It could be the queen mother. Hate to tell you that. It could be Kate that could be standing in the gap. Absolutely, positively could be Kate if that was the case. Dior does have gorgeous bags. Now you're going to want me to go shopping. I'm so sick of PTSD excuse. The queen inherited it. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about, like, every one of them could have PTSD. Even King Charles has got the divorce. The wife dies. Let's not go into the conspiracy, but let's assume that it was what it was. And now he's dealing with his sons while he's got this woman. Like, there was a lot for him to figure out too. And then William, and like, they're just a bunch of guys who don't come from a very emotional, probably not a lot of experience with going into counseling kind of a family. So they all had issues, but everybody processes it different. It doesn't mean that the intensity of Harry's feelings isn't legit. It's legit. It's just somebody needs to tell him that it's okay to process your pain outside of the media, which you keep saying you despise. Like, don't stand there naked in front of them and give them all of this ammunition, basically. Like, somebody needs to coach Harry, not only with how to deal with the media and his business, but how to deal with him processing his emotions. And I'll always say the one thing that I give that I think was a positive, if he would have handled it differently, was I did think that Meghan and them leaving that environment made Harry feel like he could finally process this. The only problem is we don't need to process all of your stuff with you. We all have stuff. My parents were divorced. I've dealt with death too. Like, I know that many of you, I could go through each one of you and you could be our jaws would probably be on the floor as to what you guys have gone through. But with all that being said, the intensity of his feelings are real to him, right? So it's a matter of how to deal with it. And the sad thing to me is when I hear that Montecito thing that Stephen brought up regarding him either getting drunk, them having a fight at the club, and him maybe needing to go to the hospital because, you know, he basically now has alcohol poisoning, which is quite a big deal considering he could probably handle a lot. That's very, very sad. And that means that he's gotten to this point and something needs to be done. And yet like I said, people who are either addicts or they're narcissists or whatever, they don't want to ever admit that they need help. He won't even admit that his breakup with Chelsea Davy was not because, yes, maybe the media had a hand in that, but she's a smart cookie attorney. Like, I'm just using that as an example, but anyhow, that's the problem that we have with Harry. So they're splitting up. I don't know if we know. I think a lot of people think they are, but there's a part of me, honestly, that feels like, okay, Meghan will probably hold on to this till, you know, she'll onward and upward. Like, she'll hold on to that until she has plan B lined up. Okay. So Deborah, he needs to go home and rejoin the family. I think he needs to be in some kind of, he needs to be somewhere away from all this where there's peace. I mean, go hang out with Charles Spencer, go hang out at your other family mansion, like really do it. That's what I think. I really do. I love chatting about the royals. How long have you been doing this? It's excellent. Thanks for doing. Thanks. Very briefly, I started a year ago on YouTube doing videos, short videos of my house. And then I went into history. Always loved the royals, but I was doing history videos about the royals. And then the queen died. And I was like, whoa, what happens to her shoes? What happens to her brooches? And then this whole Harry thing, I was talking about it before too. So it's part of history to me. And, I love that we're in this time where we can talk like this. And I also love YouTube because of what it's done. And I come from a YouTube kind of a family. My son's a YouTuber as well. So anyhow, thank you for asking. And I also thank you guys for your support because you know, I have been in entertainment my entire life, but this is a whole new thing and I love it. And it's just the beginning. By the way, with that, I'll make that like a little commercial. I am planning a trip next year in 2024 to Germany, Vienna, Austria. We're going to visit Neuschwanstein Castle, which is kind of the Disney castle, several other castles. We're going to have little history breakouts and also ride bikes in Munich. We're going to go to where the Sound of Music was in Vienna. There's some more castles. And we're going to do that next year for 8 days. The package that you see from the link in my description, you guys can just go check it out, will include everything. I mean, there'll be some meals you have to pay for too, but we're covering some meals and the hotels, but you have to pay for your flights. Okay. And check it out. I have a limited amount of space, but I'm announcing it early enough. I think it'll be a blast. And I hope that it's the beginning of many, because then I want to go to England, but we could cover some of the history of the background of the German side of the royal family too. Okay. I don't want to take up too much time with that. Thank you, Duchy of Cornwall. I kept saying Cambridge. Sometime my husband says I have celebrity dyslexia because I mix up celebrity phrases all the time. Like Cambridge, Cornwall, you know, I do that kind of thing all the time. I agree wholeheartedly with, okay. So Harry's living in a shack with videos to prove it. Yeah. Then that's the thing. It's like, he didn't have the money. He did not have the kind of money that like they had to figure it out. In other words, if they didn't want to live like just the regular kind of lifestyle that made you look like you have mega bucks, but you're still having to have a budget, they gave it their best shot, like, and they're giving it their best shot, but it's a mess. It's a hot mess. But that would be the way for them to make tons and hundreds of millions, is to go into this other direction. The thing is that everything's in the execution and they're handling it poorly. There are ways to still make the money in entertainment, and they could have still honored their association with the royal family. Didn't have to give them all that control, but even the Queen was like, Meghan, you should continue to act. By the way, the Queen loved drama. She was in a play like years ago, so she liked that. So they just, the question is it, they've made such a, pardon the pun, royal mess of this. Like, are they going to be able to sort of bounce back from this? I'm not sure. Okay. I'm going to look at a couple of other questions and comments, and then I'm going to go off subject, somewhere new to your channel. Do you only do royal history? No. I have a few shorts about Jackie. One was about her pink suit, and I do have a woman that I'm going to be interviewing. I have been doing, most of my lives have been on the royal family, but my shorts, if you go to my channel, I have a really good short video on Jackie's, you know, suit. I just found out that that Grace Kelly and JFK were like an item at one point. Like, I love talking about that other stuff. Definitely. So I think, Daniel, I will come on live and talk about other things. I have a friend who wrote a great book about Jackie. And by the way, if you didn't know this, I also have a video about Jackie was a photographer for the Queen's coronation way back in the day. Okay. In 2020, the Duchy of Cornwall, King Charles the cash gave 4.5 million to Princess William House. Yeah. And $500,000. Thank you for those numbers. So the Duchy of Cornwall, it's basically like, they're like a mega landlord. They get all of this money. And so the Prince of Wales, or the new king, always gets the Duchy of Cornwall when, you know, there's, you know, a coronation and there's a new king. So he was moved into this massive thing with all this money. But Harry, like, honestly, $500,000 is not a lot of money. Like, when you have a wife who's like a Hollywood, like, that's not a ton of money. I mean, it can be if they're paying for your house and they're paying for, you know, all that other stuff. But I think that might be part of their budget. I think their budget was like more like 2 million for their household or something like that. And then maybe they had their own salary. So it's not what we think. And so many of the celebrities that we know make 2 million's nothing. There are YouTubers making 2 million, like, honestly, and they would have their freedom. So, That's how it is. All right, guys, I'm going to have to head out. William now has control of the Duchy of Cornwall and Duchy of Lancaster. That, yeah, multi millions, close to billions, I think, even with with Cornwall and Lancaster. Totally different than Sussex, than having just the title. The monarchy money is inherited down the line. Yes, William is worth $1 billion. Yeah, and by the way, they say that Charlotte is for some reason. It's called the 1937 Regent Act. They would put in, I'm going to go fast and then we're going to go. They would put in temporary person regent. Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't mean though, okay, it doesn't mean that it would be Harry. I think Harry would be the last person they would put in there. Last person. But it could be, they usually have an advisor. There's all these people that usually fight for it, an advisor, but the Queen Mother is tight in that situation. That's why Catherine is so important as the wife of, the future king, but also the mother of those children. Very, very important. Very important, because there have been situations where even the Queen Mother has made decisions like with the government, when the parliament comes and needs the monarch's things. So there's all kinds of things. So she is crucial. I don't think Harry would not be considered, because that situation doesn't necessarily just fall over to the next person in line who's of age. It just doesn't. It's a whole different thing. It could be like a government. It could be somebody in government that stands in the position too. Like, it doesn't have to be them. It could be an uncle. So, okay, I'm going to go. Yes, Kate did have money from the party business that they had. I think that was just sold though. The Middletons sold that business. It was a really good business, but I don't think it was doing as well in the past couple of years, and it was sold, but she did excellent. Didn't Queen pay? Yes, the Queen paid Andrew's payoff, and they say that may have come from Charles's inheritance, but we don't know that for sure. Don't forget, William has billions now, so yeah, that's because of William has billions because of what we were saying, the Duchy of Cornwall, and then the other, and then Lancaster. It's like, Ray, here is the money on a crap that William's making. Here's the money allocated to what the Sussexes would have. So and again, with the context of, we could go to Hollywood and get closer to even what they're making. And no wonder Meghan was like, we could all be Duchy of Cornwall and Lancaster. Let's do that, because it's not fair. Okay, I'm gonna go. I will talk to you guys later. Let's keep an eye on this whole thing with Harry. I'm really worried about that. Stephen, if you find anything else out, let me know. And then if anybody wants to travel with me, it's going to be fun because I'm going to start doing German Bavarian content and how that whole thing, which is complicated, and the castles and all that, because this Neuschwanstein castle is fascinating, which is the Disney castle over in Germany. It's fascinating what that whole thing was with this guy, King Ludwig II. Crazy stuff. But we will talk about that later. I so appreciate all of you. Please subscribe, share with your friends. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of the questions. I wanted to, but I just think, we've gone on and on. I keep seeing so many great questions though. I'll take 2 more. Okay. I'm just grabbing them. Okay, Raymond, what people seem to miss, Harry brought mental awareness and more to the mainstream. I wonder how many mental lives is saved. I think they did some great work. I mean, Meghan and Harry were doing great work. Catherine is doing Catherine and Will are also into the whole mental health thing, but it's sort of like you can bring that awareness up and talk about it, but then I think the best thing that Harry could do is be a little bit more contrite and humble and say, look, this is, so I think many of us are here criticizing them, but at the end of the day, it's because we're frustrated and we want them to do well, because they were always Harry was my favorite always. So yes, he did bring that awareness, and they all were going to do that together, which was great. What type of support the royals if they didn't support Princess Diana of Wales? The royals failed Princess Diana. Why would they support Prince Harry? They were against Prince Harry's marriage. Yeah, I mean, it goes back. The whole mental illness thing and the support there goes way back. And that's probably what's part of Harry's frustration. But there are different ways to look at how you can make change, and I personally don't think that the way that Harry's doing this is working. But you're right. Like, there is absolutely a history of kind of being dismissive as to what people have gone through and all this. I think they've tried to change. And then, so what do? Do you just continue to hold, the grudge on history? I don't know. But the reason why it's so complex is because of kind of what you said. It's like how it's complicated. It's complicated. Okay. Mariette, you are the last comment I'm taking. Okay. I love that name. And Harry and Nutmeg will be broke soon. I think so, because they are plowing through their money, frivolously, and have no idea how to budget. I don't think so either. And the thing is, I think if they were humble, everything to me has to do with the fact that I don't think these two are willing to listen and be humble and let somebody else, show somebody else respect, even if they don't have the status you have. If they have the experience, listen to them and listen to the right people. I think whether it's their security team that probably said, it'd be best if you didn't walk out the front door after that award ceremony, because there's, the back grid people and they're going to be following you. And then now you're in a cab. Oh, we didn't really want you to be in a cab. Oh, and by the way, please don't tell them it was a catastrophic car chase, because it really wasn't. Like, they don't listen, and they are not willing to be humble enough. It's like, we are the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and we know. Like, it doesn't matter what your title is, honey. If you haven't been out budgeting a checkbook and now you have hundreds of millions, make sure that you listen to people. So I agree with you. Let's continue to watch. None of us, in closing, I'm going to say this, and I really believe that all of you guys feel this, at least close to it. Most of you guys feel this way. None of us want Harry, none of us really wanted them to fail. Most of us are like most of Americans who had this expectation and excitement about having Harry and Meghan, number one, get married. Number two, because we got our American princess, and how exciting was that? And number two, them coming to America. And then we're not going to lie and just blindly say that they're doing everything so beautifully, because they're not. They're messing it up. So, that's the problem. That's the problem. And so we don't want Harry to be falling over drunk in a club and having a fight with his wife. We'd rather have it be like, come on, pull it together. Let's figure this out. And I would like everybody to live happily ever after. I'm like that. I'm a romantic like that. I want everybody to live happily ever after. But it's so sad, because we're seeing Shakespeare, basically. It's sad. It's really sad. This is like a Shakespearean thing playing out in real time. That's what I think. All right, guys, good night. There's some really good comments. Please continue to read the comments, especially regarding the line of succession. Should, something happen, would Harry ever be able to be king? If the entire family of Will and Kate goes, yes. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great, great night.